Hey, what's up guys, Wale here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about 6 life lessons I learned in 2022, and these are lessons I learned from books that I'm going to keep in mind going into 2023. So without further ado, grab a cup of coffee, juice, water, and let's jump straight into it. Now, lesson number 1. Progress comes from designing good systems rather than goals. And I got this revelation from the book The Atomic Habits by James Clear. Now, in the book, the author talks about to change our lives, we have to focus on designing the right systems and not so much on goals. So, what are systems? Systems are carefully thought out daily habits that move us closer to our goal. If you wanted to land a job in 2023, which is a goal, then a good system would be for you to put in a job application every day for the next 60 days. Another would be if you wanted to read more in 2023, then a good system would be for you to read a page of a book every day. Now, some people design systems that say they want to read a chapter a day. That won't be so bad, but if you're starting from scratch, if it's a habit that you want to build from scratch, that might be tough because some chapters are 100 pages. And so you have to make your goal as tiny as possible, something that will require the least amount of effort for you to inculcate that habit. And then once you've inculcated that habit, you can start to increase the intensity as you go along. So this tiny change of behavior will change your life faster than setting big milestones that we may never achieve. So going into 2023, I'm having to rethink how I set my goals and design my systems, making sure that they require the least amount of effort and focus more on small incremental changes rather than big milestones that I may not achieve. Lesson 2, learn to embrace isolation. And this is from the book Deep Work by Carl Newport. So we live in a distracted world. A lot of things call for our attention, our work, family, hobbies. Being able to embrace isolation is becoming so important and becoming key in success in today's world. Now, isolation can mean different things to different people. Some may, have a dedicated space where they can lock themselves up and focus and think. Others may have to, say, go to a library, go to somewhere really quiet and have time for themselves. And if you don't have the luxury of any of those, then you could invest in a really good headphones that can block out noise, and then you can focus and think. But the most important thing is embracing isolation, because it is in isolation that you get work done. Now, one of the major things I did in 2022 was to run an experiment where I quit social media for about 7 days just to complete a project. Now, not only was I able to complete the project on time, I was also able to learn the skill of disconnecting from social media to focus and get work done. And this is something that was a game changer for me. Lesson 3. Building wealth has little to do with your income or investments, but lots to do with your savings rate. And this is from the book, The Psychology of Money. Now, honestly, this was a mental shift for me in terms of my behavior when it comes to money. A lot of time we think that we'll be able to save more if we earn more money. And while that is true, if you earn more money, you should be able to save more. It doesn't happen all the time, because what usually happens is once you make more money, you increase your lifestyle. So you move to a nicer neighborhood, we buy a bigger car, we change our wardrobes, we buy new phone, new gadgets and all of that. And then we're back to where we were before we made more money. And that certainly is not a sustainable way to build wealth. Like, if anything, 2022 has taught us is that you cannot predict whether an investment will do well or not. Like, think about it. Tesla shares is down 70%. Who would have thought? Facebook shares is down 64%. Bitcoin is down, God knows. So you almost cannot control what happens to your investment. Of course, you got to take calculated risk and mitigate the risk, but you cannot control it. It's not within your control. What is within your control is having a decent lifestyle, increasing your savings rate, and diversifying your investment portfolio such that they all complement each other. Lesson 5, don't wait until you know who you are until you get started. And this is from the book Still Like an Artist. Now, a lot of times we think that for us to start anything, we need to have some sort of pedigree, and we need to be on a pedestal to start something, to apply for a job, to start a project, to start a YouTube channel. And this feeling is often called the imposter syndrome, which is like a psychological phenomenon where we are unable to internalize our accomplishments. Many times last year, I fell into this feeling of imposter syndrome where I felt like I was just winging it and I didn't really know what I was doing. And I guess that kind of manifested in how much work I was able to put out on this channel, how much video I was able to put out. But after some time, I started to embrace the feeling and to come to a realization that no one really knows it all, right? Creativity is all about mixing and matching, right? You take your experiences, you learn from others, you mix everything up, and you come up with something original. Everybody has the potential to create something, to be creative. And you just have to let yourself go and not think too lowly of yourself. We all have the power to be creative. We all have the power to do whatever we want to do. But first, you must overcome the inertia of starting. And that's why I would encourage everyone who is a creative to read this book. Lesson 5, be intentional. And I got this from the book 3 Steps Ahead, Thinking Strategically to Avoid Unintended Consequences. Now, this book opened my eyes to why things happen to us and whether we could have influenced it in any way, shape, or form. It talks about if you don't think ahead, you forfeit the opportunity to manage the future. And the author explores 5 reasons why unintended consequences happen to us. And they are ignorance, error, immediate interest, basic values, and self-defeating prophecy. In other words, there are times where we act in ignorance and, we create future problems for ourselves. Like I remember the one and the only time where I went for a teeth whitening procedure. The type where they strap you to a bed and they connect this thing to your mouth. And so I sat there and the doctors did their thing. And you know what? Before that procedure, I never had any teeth problem. Like I had healthy set of teeth. Like I could drink hot water, chew ice cubes, and nothing would happen. Like I wouldn't feel any sort of pain. But after that procedure, problems. Now I almost can't drink hot water. I have to watch out when drinking cold water, gum pain, and all of that. And that is one time that I acted in ignorance. I didn't do enough research to check out the side effects and to be sure that what I was getting myself into will not lead me into future problems. So the whole idea is whatever it is we want to do, we have to make sure that we're acting from a place of knowledge rather than ignorance, knowledge rather than immediate interest, knowledge rather than error, and just try to be intentional about everything. Lesson 6, never let your emotions get the better of you. And I learned this from the book, The Art of War, Sun Tzu. And this is all about having enough self-awareness and having a strong sense of your environment before reacting. And this is something that I had to practice recently. I was driving on a busy road and someone hit my car. These commercial vehicles and the way their drivers are. So I came down from my car, I was very pissed. And I walked up to him and we started having a verbal exchange. And in no time, the situation almost got into a scuffle. And at that point, something clicked in me and I was like, this wasn't the right battle for me to fight. On top of that, I clearly had insurance, right? So I had insurance. I knew my insurance could fix the damage that was done. But because I got this feeling that the guy was trying to take advantage of me, my emotions got up, kicked in, and then I was ready to engage. It's very important that we try to manage our emotions, especially when people try to take advantage of us. It might look like, oh, you look like a fool, you don't know what you're doing, you're not smart. But as long as you have system in place where you have mitigated that against that situation, and in this case, I have my insurance certainly would pay for the damage that was done. there was almost no need to engage physically. Truth be told, I didn't go there to engage physically. I just wanted to have a decent conversation, but the driver was being unreasonable and things got heated. And so I just had to walk back to my car and then drive off. So the whole idea of this, the whole point of this story is that we have to manage our emotions, especially when people try to take advantage of us and try to make sure we don't make a bad situation worse. All right, so these are the 6 biggest lessons I learned in 2022 that I'm going to keep in mind going into 2023. Now, let me know which one of them resonates with you, and you can also drop in the comments your biggest lesson in 2022. As always, if you got value out of this video, do give it a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.